Well, we cannot afford to waste time skirting around issues. Delays will make us busy spectators. A calamity wipes out lives and livelihoods. Those were the words of President William Ruto when he addressed the World Leaders Summit this evening at COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt. Ruto called on delegates to address loss and damage, especially now when poor countries are suffering some of the worst impacts of climate change. Already, the current drought that has killed more than 2.5 million heads of cattle has cost Kenya's economy more than $1.5 billion in losses. NTV Science editor Zainab Wandati, who's at the COP, now gives us the latest.
On this first full day at the COP27, three key things have happened for Kenya today. The president has met with the Prime Minister of the UK, Rishi Sunak, in a private meeting where they signed an agreement to extend over $500 billion to Kenya between now and 2025 to finance Kenya's activities in climate-proofing the economy of Kenya. And another thing that the president has also done today is that he has also signed another bilateral agreement with a private investor who will build a hydrogen power generation facility in Kenya. And there was also another agreement signed for 300 megawatt capacity generation of green ammonia and green fertilizer facility in Kenya by 2025. Those are just some of the bilateral agreements that the president was engaged in today, and he also addressed the World Leaders Summit. We expected this address to be much earlier in the day, but it was delayed by a couple of hours. We are not sure why, but he went to address a side event that Kenya was hosting on forestry. And one highlight that came out of there is that there was this little girl there, little Miss Environment Kenya, Karen. She's 9 years old, and she attended that side event, and she had a couple of questions to ask the president.
How are you going to make sure trees planted in dry areas do not dry off because of lack of rain? The second question is, wild animals are drying up because of drought in Kenya. I have seen more than 100 elephants died, which is very sad. My question is, how are you going to save the wild animals from drought? Thank you.
Your two questions are significant and they are very important. We already changed the model in Kenya, just to respond to what you've said, that we no longer are talking about tree planting, we are talking about tree growing, so that we must have a plan beyond planting the tree. This morning, I was having a conversation that for the first time in Kenya, we are setting aside finances to feed our wildlife and to make sure that our wildlife have access to water. For the first time, in fact, this weekend, just last weekend, in Savo, we are spending 200 million shillings to make sure that we keep our wildlife alive.
I think those were pretty impressive questions Karen had for the president there. And while he was rushing off to the World Leaders Summit, we weren't able to speak to him. We did hope to speak to him today, but given how late, how fast the time had moved, he rushed off to go and address the World Leaders Summit. But tomorrow he'll have another very packed day. He'll be attending another event hosted by the Global Center on Adaptation, and he'll be one of the presidents to attend that summit and to attend that side event and also address it. And I should also mention that former Prime Minister and Azimio principal Raila Odinga has also arrived in Sharm el-Sheikh. Will be getting his attention over the next couple of days, and we'll be catching up with all these leaders from the country who are here. Even Safaricom CEO, by the way, is also here, and we'll be catching up with them over the next couple of days to see why they are here and what their agenda is on climate change and how they intend to take the lessons or the discussions and the decisions made here and scale them down to the people of Kenya.